Hello, it is my Q&A. God, never doing one of these again. Yes, it is my Q&A for my I opened comments on my last video and asked if anyone wanted to ask me any questions. They could, and yes, some of you were very kind enough to do that. Um, this probably maybe I'll leave the comments open on this video and then, but that is going to be it for the foreseeable future. My comments will be closed again. God, if anything, this week showed me that that I'm happy making comments on other people's videos, but I'm just a mess when it comes to people's quite wonderful comments. Well, except for one, which we'll get to. Starting off with Ja, my lovely Ja, who every once in a while, just to poke me, likes to put comments on, would put a comment on one of my videos. And her comment was, "How is your blood pressure this morning? Is it possible that closing comments while decreasing your stress also cuts you off from some very important positive interactions? Why do you stay with your wife when she asks you difficult questions, other than the obvious awesome t-shirts and art contributions to your life? And yes, who would you woo?" Well, we'll get to the who would you woo, and yes, whenever I get asked about a t-shirt, it's because it's a t-shirt that Ja has bought me. Well, Ja, she knows perfectly well, because when I have comments open, she is the one who gets to see me with my all the veins throbbing in the side of my head and stuff like that. I weighed up. I hopefully did a good enough job of weighing out the positive and negative in the last video. And if I think I'm hoping that if I can actually, when I am able, when that part of my brain, when I've got the energy to actually make comments on other people's videos, I will get the interactions I need that way, going forward. And maybe letting a couple of people know my Voxer thing, if they need to let me know that I've really messed up somewhere along the way. Might be another option, but just general videos. And she knows, because Ja gets the full brunt of my neurotic me. So yes, I hope that answers your question, Ja, and we'll get to the who would I woo part later in the thing, since that is somebody else's question. Actually, I also got a comment in all caps that for some reason it just made me giggle in delight, and I immediately took a screenshot of it. And it is an abusive comment. But and I shouldn't that, unfortunately, this is a thing. There's a thing with, I guess, all social media, and in the thing that all creators have to kind of deal with in one variety or another. And I shouldn't make fun of it, because I am such piddling small potatoes that if you're a large booktuber, or even just a couple of degrees above me, you can come in for horrible abuse, and that can really take the wind out of people's sails. It's probably a measure of exactly how blessed I have been with all the really wonderful people that I have met, and stuff that I get. That I very rarely get any comments that are negative. But for some reason, I got this one and I immediately screenshotted it, because I was afraid that it might disappear. But no, I'm sure the fellow who dropped this, probably, I would be surprised if he's a subscriber. If he is, hello out there. I would be very surprised if he did just drop that comment and then continue about his business, and had very accidentally kind of gotten onto my channel. Maybe not. If he wants to leave another abusive comment, I'll probably just mute him. But I have to read it out loud. It does containing a lot of swearing, but so I apologize, and you can fast forward through this if you need to. But for some reason, I wanted to give it a little airing here. It's in all caps. I'm not going to read the person's name, their production, whatever, just because I'd be embarrassed if I'd left this comment. But I figured I would I would read it out. So, YouTube is fucking stupid. Impossible to look up comments. I hit the notification and then disappears. Shit is annoying. Billion-dollar company can't even figure out simple tasks. Fuck YouTube, fuck Google, and fuck you. Also, people who turn off comments are just as bad. What are you afraid of? Chicken shit! With such a warm welcome, why would I ever turn off the comments? And, you know, I would like to stress right now that, again, me, super blessed. Abusive comments are actually, as I've said in the past, are super easy. I just mute, ignore. They are easy. They're easy. There's no emotional connection for me. I am a straight seeming cis dude, white dude. So, you know, other than calling me a chicken, probably threatening my manliness, but, you know, you can see how manly I am. That you know, there's not too much that they can poke at, and I just mute. You know, this is, in some ways, you know, there are a lot of problems with all, you know, people are people, and there's problems on BookTube as much as there is in the wider YouTube. But it's kind of a measure of things that's kind of one of those things that at least I haven't seen. I don't get to see a lot of. I mean, in some ways, I get the sense that this is somebody who was enraged about comments in general and typed in comments in the search thing, and for some reason, my melon head popped up and they clicked on my video. They actually watched my video enough to actually find out that I had turned off comments. So thumbs up there. They probably watched me for at least a minute before they, you know, pounded in their comment. You know, and there is a thing, you know, maybe, you know, as bullies, or, you know, people who are going to jeer you from the thing. It's like, well, am I being a chicken shit? And I don't actually, I honestly don't think so. I mean, I've been doing this for 4 years, for, you know, with the comments on, and it was just a kind of a thing of like, oh, this is wearing me down and this isn't the thing I like. But I don't know, there was something about this comment that I just felt like I wanted it to be there in a record, and I wanted to kind of acknowledge it, and acknowledge that, you know, there is that sort of a thing of, you know, the darker side of, you know, putting yourself out there and having, quote unquote, an audience. I mean, you guys aren't my audience. You guys are people that I know. I know one way or another. We're just people listening to each other. Much less, you know, some kind of a giant audience thing. But it's kind of interesting that you do have people who are, you get the sense of kind of the entitled audience, and that they feel very strongly that if they have something to scream at you, that they should be allowed to scream at you, that this is the right, and you're somehow violating things that way. Yeah. So it was just, that was, I you know, I mean, I've probably, oh God, I've given this way too much time on its own, but, I just wanted that to be there. That for some reason that to me is like, thank you, sir, for your all cap letters rant. That needed to be in my question and answers video. On a much more positive note, let's get on to the actual. Hey, first let's start off with the people who chimed in and basically one way or the other said, hey, you be you, and we're not gonna stress you out because you're obviously a very nervous fellow. We're not gonna stress you out by asking you a question, even though I asked. But also, Lindsey Reads said, like, you know, I can never think up a question to ask, which is totally the thing that I find with any of these Q&As. It's very rare that I would ever participate in one, because I can never think of, like, me ask somebody a question about themselves. That's very, I don't know, it feels very inappropriate. So yes, Lindsey Read, MJ at this Reading Life, Jen at Remembered Reads, and Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading, who is the comments queen, who is always exhorting people to you know, leave a comment, and if they can't leave a comment, just do like a little thumbs up or emoticon, being like, you know, super welcoming and super wanting that engagement. And I really, really like Kelly, and it's kind of one of those measures of things of how you can be like, I am nothing like that, but you can really, really kind of make a connection and really enjoy getting to know someone like like that. So yeah, that was incredibly great of you guys. Okay, we'll get on to questions. Actually, we'll start off with a group one, which is my number 2 and my number 3, which is sort of like thing of like, what's your biggest from David Walsh? What is your biggest distraction when it comes to your reading life? And Julia E, who's as far as like, how much time do you dedicate to reading each day / week? Do you keep a lot of physical books, or do you donate or give them away after you've read them? So for those, I kind of group those together. When it comes to what's my biggest distraction? It's I have a limited amount of free time, and it's like, what do I use? What do I use my free time for? Do I use it to scroll on my phone? Am I watching TV? There's all the various different things that we can do nowadays to be entertained. There's the thing of like, when I was a teenager, I thought like, wow, I got a lot of reading done, but it's one of those things of, I think we started out with maybe 2 channels on our TV set. And the computer was not, when we finally did get a computer, it wasn't hooked up to there was no internet for it to get hooked up to. There was books, and I got a lot of reading done that way. And now there's just so much stuff. I have access to so many books, but there's also just so much other stuff that I can do. So sometimes it really is a good reminder. It's like, reading really makes me feel good. I was sick a little while ago, and I just remember spending a day sitting on the couch. It's like I was too sick to do kind of any the chores. Like, it's like basically any weekends, it's like, okay, I gotta get the groceries. I gotta, get all the stuff done before I, go back to work again. And it's like, I was sick. So I just sat on the couch and I read the full day, and it was like, wow, that was so wonderful. And it was a good reminder of, I need to make that, remind myself that, when I finish reading, I feel energized. I feel like, wow, I feel, and not only like, it's not like just like energized, but I feel comforted. It's like, it's nourishing, when you're reading, whatever the book is, that kind of, that feel really, is why I'm a reader. So, the other thing, the other part of Julia's question was, do I keep a lot of my physical books, or do I donate them or give them away after I've read them? For the most part now, because I guess I've done so many, I've done enough moves, and what I culled a lot of books. I culled a lot of books the last time I moved, when I moved from up the middle of the island down here to Victoria. I culled a lot of books, and I basically went through and it's like, I haven't read this in 10 years. Am I going to pick it up in another 10 years? And it's like, that probably halved my library right there. And I kind of determined that as I went forward, I would try and read a book and and sort of ask the same question. Like, am I going to want to reread this within 5 years? And if, unless it was like a rare book or something that had a really sentimental value, okay, I'm going to release it back into the wild. And now I'm also doing a lot more ebooks, and I'm doing a lot more audiobooks in my life than before. So hopefully my goal is to actually slowly shrink my library down to maybe more the essentials. That probably will take until the end of my life, and I'll probably be found buried under a whole bunch of books anyways. So we'll see how that goes. Okay. And Dane Reads, who is one of my one of these solid booktuber and author tuber as well, guys who I've known from like really early on in my channel, one of my very earliest commenters, and he's somebody who I always see commenting on other people's videos and answering comments on his own thing. Just the solidest thing. He asked me about it's usually over in the corner, but he asked me about my computer here. I'm gonna actually see. Ooh, okay, it made a noise. This here, Dane, who's asking about this, is like, what can I tell you about this computer in the background? This computer in the background is my Macintosh Plus. It was, I guess they started making them in 1986. I moved from the interior, from my parents down to Victoria for the first time in 1988, and I needed a computer, or I felt like, I'm budding writer, I'm going to write the great Canadian novel or something like that. I needed a computer to do that. Maybe I was going to hopefully at some point get back into I was in college up there. I was hopefully maybe going to get into, well, actually I went through the college down here and then into university. And I figured like, okay, I need a computer. So I bought this. God, I must have had a little bit of cash at that point because they weren't cheap. It has a whole 1 megabyte of RAM on it. It's 7.5 kilograms. Yeah, 35-year-old computer, which apparently still works, or at least it turns on. Apparently I would have to get my disk to actually put in it, but it's actually functioning. I used to, I was talking with Jean about it, and we used to do little love notes to each other, and put them on the discs for each other to communicate. The early, very steamy part of our courtship, which I will not get into, and I've been told not to. So yeah, and it apparently actually works. Good Lord. Could explode at any moment. That would be very exciting for that would be very exciting for a thing. Yeah, I guess I would need a disk to see if it actually could actually boot up anything. But yes, we'll leave it there. Yeah, we'll see. Well, ticking time bomb in the background. 35-year-old electronics that I've decided to leave on there. Oh God. Next question from Scott and Nelle. Well, probably just one of them at Gunpowder Fiction and Plot. Their question is, tell us the weirdest or most unique thing about the place you live. I was trying to think about this for Victoria. It's always weird to me that Victoria itself was a gold rush town, with dance halls and, gold miners and stuff like that. But, that's sort of like, yeah, whatever. I think the thing that strikes me the most is that when I take the dogs for a walk, underneath the Tillicum Bridge, there's this midden, archaeological term, I guess. It's basically where people from times past would have tossed all their kind of kitchen scraps or garden, or probably shells and stuff like that in this thing. And archaeologists have looked at it, and it is like 4,000 years old. So there is like evidence of people living here back in like the 19 BCE, 1900 BCE, which, is like, that was the fall of the last Sumerian dynasty, which is one of these things of, as a white settler, I grew up with a history of like, oh, Canada, it's a very young country. It's like, yes, the white settler government, this construct is very young. There were people living in this area 4,000 years ago. How ancient is that? And that to me is a really striking, that kind of, it's one of those things, a good rejigging that's kind of happening in my brain, I hope, of that. So yeah, that's that's a thing I could think of. We haven't. It's an old retirement community with the seat of the provincial government here. you know, you can buy incredibly expensive tea at the Empress. So I think going for a 4,000-year-old midden is probably a much more interesting thing. Um, a number, well, I've numbered them. I've six. Number six, Jason at Old Blues Chapter and Verse. Husband of the famous Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading. What fictional character do you most wish existed in real life with whom you'd like to be friends? This was one of these questions where I'm tempted to take the Steve Donahue. It's like, these are all made up things. I do not think of characters that way, but it's like, I don't know. I find I'm a kind of a serial monogamist in that, it's what book I'm reading at the moment of what character I'm kind of sinking into. I mean, there's very striking characters in the past, like Christian Lavensdottir could be mentioned. I'm going to go at the moment for a kind of a bizarre, kind of what to me is an odd one, because I'm just about finished Inferno, a poet's novel by Eileen Myles. But speaking of Steve Donahue, this might be considered. This is probably considered a example of auto fiction, in that Eileen Myles calls it fiction, but the main character in this book, the absence that everything else is swirling around in this book, is a poet called Eileen Myles, and Eileen Myles, they I don't know if I used the right pronoun there. They have switched to the they them pronoun. Is recounting their coming up as a poet in kind of punk New York of the 70s, of the 70s, and Kathy Acker is there, Allen Ginsberg, Andy Warhol, all these people, all these real people, everybody in this book is real, but it's a poet's novel, which I don't know if I have a problem with, because it's one of these things of the Eileen Myles in this novel is a creation of a real person, the real Eileen Myles, whoever they are. This is their construction of that, and as such, that's somebody who I don't know if I could be friends, because they probably think I was a complete loser. But that's who I would pick at the moment, who is going to be somebody who I would like to existed. If this Eileen Myles existed in real life, I'd want to be friends with, or at least stand from a distance and watch. It's not. The Eileen Myles in this book isn't cute and cuddly or anything like that. Is complicated and messy, but complicated and messy in a really interesting way for a friend, I guess. Now he also continues, and were you not married? Which, now Ja is asking, who would you woo? If you were not married, what fictional character do you most wish existed in real life, whom you would like to woo? I think I had a harder time with this. I kept on going to kind of things like, TV show like Firefly. There's Yolanda Saffron Reynolds from Firefly, played by Christina Hendricks. But it's not Christina Hendricks that I'm interested in. It's the Yolanda Saffron Reynolds, this very tricksy, kind of probably sociopathic character who would probably use you and leave you for dead quite easily. I don't know what that says in my taste in women. Other than, I guess, if I'm going to go wrong, I might as well go really, really wrong. I'm gonna leave it with that. Sorry, Jason. I should be literary, but I don't know. Next, Brian at Bookish. All these people who are really amazing with their comments and how they they interact with BookTube. Brian, his question: favorite Monty Python movie or skit? And if I was wondering if, and me leaving it open if I wasn't a Monty Python fan, but Brian, I'm like your age, so well, there's probably a 95% probability that I at some point could recite a lot of Monty Python skits verbatim. I guess because I'm a Canadian, maybe it could be the lumberjack song, but I haven't hung around in bars lately, so actually, I was kind of looking through them. I was probably cheating. Probably the novel writing skit where where it's one of these kind of things where the Pythons are like, it's sports broadcasters, but they're is very agreeable bank holiday crowd here to watch Thomas Hardy right the test of the derivables, and they're doing color commentary, and there's like, he starts kind of fumbling. Hardy starts fumbling around, and one of the commenters is like, "Oh God, it looks like it's Tessa the Dubervilles all over again." And yeah, I'll pick that one. That one, it's like, oh yeah, that's a really awesome one. I used to have, a while ago, I had one of the, as the thing of the fans, I had one of the I had a book which was basically just the script of a couple of the Monty Python TV shows. They marketed the heck out of that, and jokers like me bought it all up. Definitely for a movie, Brian, I would of course pick The Life of Brian. Definitely. I think on the movie, though, honorable mention for Mr. Creosote in The Meaning of Life. Wafer thin. That phrase gets bandied around in this house quite a bit. And thank God I didn't get too many questions, or else I'd be here for hours. And yeah, finally, because I slipped in that sneaky comment at the very end of my last video. Juan at Plagued by Visions, left a very, as always, extremely literate and heartfelt and touching comment in the thing. I will leave that to, you can go back and read that if you would like. He always has intelligent things to say, both in his comments and in his videos. If you are one of the few people who hasn't checked out his videos, you definitely should. As for questions, he asked, do you own any rare books? Are there any books that are precious to you for personal reasons? And yeah, I'm not I don't buy a lot of I don't buy rare. I don't think I own rare books, unless this one might be considered a rare book because it's a Canadian book of poetry. Yeah, it is Pear Tree Poems by Roy Kiyooka, which is Canadian poet. I think I heard about him first from David McFadden at a poetry reading, and it's like, oh, that's somebody I should read. He's got these lovely kind of lovely prints. It's Coach House Press, which is one of these storied Canadian publishing houses. It's a gorgeous book with gorgeous poetry in it, with gorgeous kind of beautiful poetry in it. Which I'm not going to read, or else we'll be here forever. Ja bought this for me. From she actually, we had a vacation down in New Mexico, and she took me to this store, the Passages Bookshop, because I've got the little thing there, Passages Bookshop, and I'm like, why are we going here? And it turned out that she knew that I loved Roy Kiyooka's work, and like, this was one of these books that was not in print anymore, and she tracked down by phone a copy of it, and it's one of these things where we got to talk to the fellow who the bookstore owner, David Abel, at Passages Bookshop and Gallery in Albuquerque, New Mexico. She bought that for me kind of as a birthday present. And so A, I love the poet, and B, it's from the woman I love. So what else could you ask for in a book? This is obviously this is the one that's staying. This is the one that's staying. To circle back to the questions that we're going forward. Oh, I guess that was the last of the Macintosh Plus. Yeah, okay. You got to see the shining screen. I'm surprised it stayed on that long. Maybe I should just turn it off right now. Oh, okay. It still makes a noise. It's not exactly the chime of other computers. I don't know if the screen's going to go back on. Okay. And this has been another episode of Tech Talk 1988. Yeah. So I'm going to leave the comments open on this one, just to say hey, hi, and I'll try not to stress too much. But yeah, going forward, I'm gonna turn off my comments and just try and dwell in other people's comments, and just, I really enjoy making videos. You know, why am I here? I love making videos. Getting anyone talking about my own stuff is torture to me. It's not torture, but it's just, God, it's stressful. Oh yeah, okay. The screen's still there. Maybe I'll have to dig up one of the old floppy disks and see if it's demagnetized, or if I can actually see if I can find those love notes passing between Ja and I. God. Well, it might be heartwarming, or it might be horribly cringy. I don't know. All right. More videos later. Oh yes.